economies of nations. Nations, the political systems are being shaken everywhere. These end time shakings will affect those who are ignorant of prophecy, ignorant of the plan of God. Because what happens, Pastor Leon, is that they will be caught up in the shakings and lose sight of what God is doing, and they drown in the waves. They drown in the waves. Pastor Ben, the man who watches the news will know what is happening, but the man who reads the Bible will know why it is happening. This is the news before the news. This is the news before it breaks in CNN, in CBC, in BBC, and in Channels Television. This is the news. This is history written in advance. It's called prophecy. This is God giving us inside information ahead of time so that we can be secured and assured. And then inside those prophecies, he offered us strategies, the way out. That's why in this last days, you need to find the right churches. You need to be listening to men that have direction. When things get dark and you are in pitch darkness and you are driving and your car has no light, what do? You find a vehicle that has bright light and be following it behind. When it stops, you stop, because he may have seen something. He may have seen a truck that fell on the way. You don't overtake. Those without lights are going to be in big trouble. Without the light of revelation, without the light of the prophetic, are going to be in very big trouble. They will drown with the shakings. They will drown with the waves. So that you see a man sell all he has to go and invest in a place that will collapse tomorrow. Did you see what Lot did? Lot carried all his investments. He became wealthy following Abraham. And then he carried all that wealth and moved to Sodom, a place that had been marked for destruction. Abraham on the other side had discussion with God and the angels, and they informed him that city is marked for destruction. That's not the place to put your investment. That's the place to withdraw all your investments from. The other man went and put everything there. He lost everything, including his family. He managed to escape with his 2 daughters. A wealthy man just became broke overnight. There is nothing like divine direction. There is nothing like the light of revelation knowledge. There is nothing like the wisdom of God. It does not compare with the wisdom of this world. When you listen to the news, they pump up all this fear, and you need to know the man that controls the mainline media. His name is Satan, and he is a liar and the father of all lies. But what is going on behind the stories? Because Jesus said one of the shakings will be wars and rumors of wars, and that's part of the shaking of nations. Go there, Matthew 24. Let's pick up just that one. Let's pick up that one. We just came out of the shaking that Jesus mentioned, plagues and epidemics. Now, verse 6.
And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Now, this is not yet the end, because there is a program that must be completed, then the end will now step in. What is the program? Show them verse 14. He said, you hear of wars, rumors of war, all this shaking. Don't be troubled. Don't be grabbed with fear. Third World War, this one. No. Don't be moved with fear. Economy check. Don't be moved with fear. That's why you need to understand what God is doing so that you can line up with Him. Yes.
Verse 14.
Yes.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
So he said the shakings is not the end. You should watch what God is doing with the gospel. That's what will determine the end. In other words, why the shaking is going on, there's another program going on. The shaking is affecting the nations, but why is God allowing the shakings? Pastor Lewo, this is our Almighty God. Why is He allowing the shakings? There are nations that are lost, territories that are closed up to the gospel, men whose heart has been hardened. So God has a solution for them. He permits the shaking of those things that they rely on: technology, civilization, economy, politics, democracy. All those things that they trust on, God allows shakings to come to them. Why the shakings is going on? His plan is for the church to go after the harvest, because it's in the midst of the shaking that these people start looking for alternative answers. They realize that the things they've trusted in, politics, is not reliable, economy is not reliable. Can't you understand? And that's the opportunity for God's people to bring the light. When Egypt was shaking with 10 plagues, God kept making one statement. He said that the whole Egypt might know that I'm the Lord. Behind all of this, today it is frog. Today it is your water turned to blood. Tomorrow it is locusts eating up. That the whole Egypt will know that I'm the Lord. And the only way they know is that Moses must show up and let them know who is behind the shaking. If not, they will read it away as natural disaster. They will just write it in news as acts of God. And when it finishes, COVID has finished now. Everybody has gone back to normal. Everybody has gone back. Those in sin have gone back to their sin. Those godless have gone back to their godlessness. No. If we don't listen to the voice of COVID, something bigger is on the horizon. They write it off, explain it away, because Moses is supposed to be there explaining to Pharaoh what is happening, explaining to the Egyptians what is happening, and explaining to the children of Israel what is happening. God also said that the Israelites, his own people, will know that he's God. So he said, in the last days, the mountain of the Lord shall be exalted above the mountains. Then all nations will flow into it. Many people, multitudes, will go saying, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, that he might teach us. Because that's the only man that makes sense. That's the only one that has the answer. That's the only one that has the explanation. And the shakings does not stop until the people start reconciling with God. The more they explain away the shaking, the more new ones show up. The more they try to find their own solution to it, the more new crises will emerge. You see, these powerful nations that think they are secured in their military, secured in their technology, secured in their wealth, watch. The game is just beginning. You saw what COVID did, grounded mighty nations, put them in disarray, and people were in streets praying. I watched different countries. It looks like things have calmed down. Watch. Some bigger shakings are on the horizon.